Everybody wants to get married. But what if most people don't actually understand what they are signing up for? What is marriage? Or what should it be?
So we have to go back to the foundation of marriage. Where did marriage start? Where can you find in writing where marriage actually starts? That's where I think you should first of all find it from. So marriage is not what is defined by my culture, by changing traditions of men. I have to go back to the basis. Whether you are saying it from the lens as a Christian or from whatever it is that you believe, go back to the source.
We debate who can marry who. We argue culture. We argue law. We argue modern definitions. But almost nobody asks the deeper question. What is marriage really? What are the 5 questions I should be asking my spouse to be?
Well, before I start asking questions, I want to find out, can two work together except they agree? Number 1, our values. What's your value? Do you believe the marriage is for life? Do you believe anything can break the marriage? How do you see money? It's marriage between you and I only. What's your understanding about our in-laws? Where are you really going as an individual? What do you want to really achieve out of life? How can I help you? How can you help me achieve that? And from that discussion, you can tell whether you are really meant for each other or not. Like I know, I'm on air, I know I can never do business with a family.
Before you say I do, before you change your name, before families merge and expectations collide, have you agreed on values, on money, on purpose, on eternity? Because here is the uncomfortable truth. When the purpose of something isn't clearly defined, it doesn't get protected. It gets misused. I'll ask you directly again. What is the purpose of marriage? It's part of the pain and the struggle.
When the purpose of the thing is not known, you are going to abuse it.
I've been reading the comments and DMs, and they are filled with beautiful messages about how much you've enjoyed watching and listening to these conversations and how powerful the stories have been. But here's the problem. Over 90% of you watching are not yet subscribed, and I know you're watching. So please hit that subscribe button to join our podcast community and help us attain our goal of reaching 2,000 subscribers in the next 2 months. Thank you. Hello, Pastor K.
Good day.
How are you today?
Blessed, highly favored and loved by my wife.
I'm used to that by now.
Yes, that's my life.
Tell me, what have you been up to today?
Today has been very restful, preparing, and it's Monday. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you. Look, I'll get us straight into it. I did have a conversation with you about this a while back, and I know it's something you're very passionate about. I've always thought about, I want to get Pastor on this sweet spot. What do I give him to talk about? I don't know. So when this crossed my mind, like, yeah, I think I know what I'm going to give him to talk about. So we're here talking about this today.
Okay.
Excited?
Well, it's a pleasure. Anything relating to life, family, I'm very keen about it.
Absolutely. Good. Look, Pastor, before we dive into marriage, divorce and everything in between, for those of our viewers that do not know you, nothing about you, in 30 seconds, can you tell us a bit about yourself beyond being a pastor and why they should lean into this conversation?
All right. My name is Kolapo Adigun, born in Nigeria, and I'm married, and it's going to be 23 years in April by the grace of God. I'm married with 2 lovely boys. One is 21 and the other is 17. Apart from living in Nigeria, I've lived in UK, raising my kids, and then here in Australia. And I hope living in 3 continents, married with that experience, hopefully it should be something that will bless somebody.
Absolutely. Look, before we get into the theology and stats, what does marriage mean to yourself as an individual?
To me, marriage is covenant. People see it as contract, but to me, it's covenant. And covenant means it's more than me. There is a superior being, in this case God, which is a witness to what myself and my spouse are coming to achieve in this union. So it's a covenant, and so it's a tripartite covenant whereby God is there, myself and my spouse, and coming together for a purpose. It goes beyond me, it goes beyond her. There is a purpose behind our coming together.
For someone that isn't a Christian, Muslim, that doesn't believe in God, anything God, what does marriage, what should marriage mean to that person?
It's as a person of faith,
Mm.
it's pretty difficult for me to explain marriage out of the context of the um the mindset of the originator of marriage. And in the sense that for every product there is always the manual. And so for me, the manual for it is I would define marriage from the context of the originator of marriage itself. If that makes sense.
So I want to establish that point you just noted there, because many of us won't believe in the concept of marriage from a Christian perspective. Christians, non-Christians get married.
Yes.
And they have their various views of marriage. So if we look at it from, I understand you're a pastor, so most of your speakings will be from the biblical perspective. But noting that many of our viewers are non-Christians, or some of our viewers are going to be non-Christians, yet they want to understand what actually is marriage. Should I really be getting married? How do we establish that? Because that's really a question in many people's mind. What is marriage? Or what should it be?
When the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. So we have to go back to the foundation of marriage.
Okay.
Where did marriage start? Where can you find in writing where marriage actually starts? That's where I think you should first of all find it from. So marriage is not what is defined by my culture, by changing traditions of men. I have to go back to the basis. Where did it start from? So whether you are saying it from a lens as a Christian or from whatever it is that you believe, go back to the source. And that's why for me, I said the source is God is the source of marriage. So defining it outside of it could be a bit difficult for me because that's what I see it as the source for me. So for anyone that's not of faith, go back to the source and find out the originator of marriage, what they have in mind, and then take it from there.
What are the biggest misconceptions about marriage people do have? From your experience counseling people.
One, marriage may make me whole. Marriage will make me complete. Marriage will make me happy. It's an escape route for me from, and that's not what marriage is. You must come to marriage as a whole person. Because if you don't come whole, you will think my spouse will make me happy. And then suddenly, it's not making you happy. You think there's problem.
Pastor, in your view, what is wholeness?
Okay. When I am whole, it means, in my understanding, I am whole in the sense that I understand who I am. I understand my purpose. I understand my fulfillment, my joy is not outside of me, it's within me.
So is that same as identity?
Understanding my identity makes me whole.
Okay. So that's
Who the men say that I am? People can define you with different things, but personally, my identity, my wholeness is within me, not outside of me. It's actually within me.
So why do people crave to find wholeness in marriage?
Wrong purpose for marriage. That's what you said. People crave for it because they think in it they will find it, but you can't find it in it.
Okay, so I'll put it another way.
Yeah.
You've just talked about wholeness, and I asked what is wholeness, identity, and all this stuff. Now, shouldn't marriage complete us as individuals?
Good point.
Yeah.
When we say do marriage complete us, I will see marriage as I am doing something. Two are better than one. I'm doing something, and the best I can achieve with what I'm doing is 1,000. And I need someone else that is whole, understands their identity, knows where they are going, and then coming to join force together, then we can achieve 10,000, if that makes sense. If I am whole and I then get someone along with that is not whole, what I will then be doing, it will slow me down. And so if someone else understands that with or without me, they are whole, they don't need me to be full. And they use this identity of miss. So when they say you are miss, something is missing in your life. Not really. You're coming into marriage whole. There is a purpose you're achieving, and someone else is coming to a nest to uh, help you, support you in achieving your goal. Not necessarily because something is broken, and that's why you need marriage.
Thank you. Now, in your experience, what are the most common causes of marital breakdown?
Number one, unfaithfulness. Number two, financial pressure. And there could be more, but I found out that these two are the most common. Unfaithfulness in marriage, and unfaithfulness can be from different reasons. Lack of satisfaction. People have expectations that are not met within the family, and then they look out. And doesn't mean it's right. The question is what makes. And I'm saying one, I've seen this unfaithfulness and a lot of financial pressure.
I'll pick on financial stress because it's something I do think, well, we've seen quite a few of those come up in quite a few conversations. But oftentimes we do not tend to understand why would finance or how do money cost breakage in marriage? Because there's a whole lot of aspects to it, I would assume. But if we're going to dissect that financial stress, what does that mean? One is working too much, one is one is earning too much, or there's not enough money in the house for all of us to consume. What does that imply?
Okay. We go to school, we learn so many things. But when it gets to the aspect of marriage, there's no real school for it. So take, for instance, it's only when you want to get married, then they give you a certificate, then you start the marriage itself. So talk about finance as well. Except you really go and learn on the purpose of money. What is really the purpose of money? And why does finance become a lot of pressure in family? Different values. I need money to be happy. Lack of planning for finance. Is it your money? Is it our money? How do we deal with finance? Lack of communication on money on how we're going to spend our money as well. What of black tax? We have people being Africans. We have, now that you're abroad, people have expectation. Do people really discuss that? When people have traveled abroad over the years, and when they're abroad under 3 months, 6 months, they're sending things back home. So there's that pressure as well. And if it's not well discussed between the couple, it's an issue. Your upbringing about finance, huge issue. Someone is coming from a background where things are very tough, and then I've seen, almost living from hand to mouth, and someone else is living in pleasure as they were growing up, and then they marry. And so to you, all you want to do with your money is to save, because you don't want that experience you have to happen again. So you want to save for the rainy day, and someone else is living for today. Let's enjoy money. And so that not understanding the purpose of money itself is a problem. And then we come into a different country like we are in Australia. Your career could be going on fine back in which part of Africa you come from, and then you come to this country, cultural shock, career, your education is now being questioned. Okay, then you have to start from afresh, and then adds a lot of pressure. You talk about finance. Finance is broad. Back home, we have a lot of people that can help you, but here, then you have children. It begins to add up. Back home, you have a house that is paid for maybe yearly. Here, you're paying on a weekly basis. Now you're saving for mortgage. We don't have all of that. So not understanding the environment we're coming in as well adds a lot of financial pressure to people. People are looking for job. People are looking for, taking care of kids. What percentage of your income goes on your kids? And by the time you're looking at it, it seems as if all your money is going into this, and there are other pressure. So if you don't have, as a couple, come together to have a discussion on how do we manage our finance, what can we do with it, it's going to be a lot of problem in the family.
That's really a lot to digest in 1 minute. Picking up on that, I guess your question I would have is there the right way to spend as a family?
Each family is unique. There's no one formula that works for every family. Discuss what's coming in for me, what's coming out at your own end. How do we put a balance? Give you an instance. Myself, I'm an accountant from as about my background. My wife as well is an accountant. And then we both looked at it. As an accountant, you work, and then at month end, we're both out of the house. So what do we do? So living back in the UK, my wife decided to be working, and we have what they call the home daycare, whereby people bring their kids home, and so our kids are stable at that age. And I go out in the day, do all the office work, and then we put our finances together and we talk about it, because that's what we needed at that stage. They're young. So my wife sacrificed a lot, even though she earned from the family daycare that we run back home in the UK, or it's not as sufficient as what I was bringing in. However, because we've discussed, this is a sacrifice we have to make at the moment. That was our call. I want to stay with the kids at the moment. You bring in more, and whatever we bring in, we plan how we're going to spend the money. All right. So if some other things, so when we talk about family, parents, siblings, we understand that someone is making a sacrifice at this time, right? And then we have a family goal. But then, come to when we got to Australia, the game was different. I have to make a lot of difference. The kids grew up here now. My wife said, now it's time for me to pick up my career. And so she went to school. She, first of all, being an accountant, she changed that profession. She went into nursing. She first did, what's the basic, what do you call it? Aged care. And then from aged care, she went into diploma of nursing. There's a lot of finance involved in it. And then from there, she went to BSc. And then from there, she did postgraduate. And she's still studying. And so, because of our past discussion on our finance, I know what she did back in the UK. Now, all the time she needs to do her study and pushing it, because if family, if you are not careful, someone will think, I am sacrificing too much for this family. And it seems as if I'm the one always on the giving. So you have to be very careful. So now my wife is doing all her studies. Every year that looks as if she's lost, she's getting it back and she's happy. And the finance is fine. So whether we're living with one family income or two, we've learned to manage it together. And we're going the same way. Don't forget I said marriage is two old people coming in together to achieve a purpose. And we're running with our purpose. So whether it's a career she wants to advance, then that's what it needs. Whether it's mine, we push it together. So it's a lot of sacrifice.
You've mentioned sacrifice, and that struck a chord for me. Many women do feel they sacrifice a lot, for their home. Of course, for the male folks as well. And oftentimes in their thinking, the men do not appreciate that. Does it always have to be the woman sacrificing? Because culturally, it looks like women, by default, should sacrifice. What's your take on that?
We must listen when our spouse are speaking, particularly the women gender. Listen carefully to what they're saying. There's a lot of emotion behind it. What is this person really communicating to me? There are times you feel, because as a guy, I've gone out, I've done all this work 9 to 5, and so you are basically home all day. You think you are the one doing the lifting. And until you understand it from the lens of the woman, you won't understand what the other person is saying. She's not saying you are not sacrificing, but it could be that my career is on hold. I'm just spending the whole day with kids. You've gone out. There's a satisfaction that comes when you have career advancement. There's a satisfaction that comes when you mix with people of, other intellect. But just now imagine that spouse, guy or woman, is just at home with the kids, and that's repeating itself. Psychologically, there's a way you affect someone. So when your spouse is complaining about, I'm the one making sacrifice, before you answer, understand where that person is coming from. If you understand it, you can say, yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing at the moment. This is what you need. And just reinforce, appreciate. It's not that the person is not saying what you are doing, but they at that time just need validation and support. In what way what can I do that will make a difference for you at this moment? There are times I come back home. Back in the UK, I work in the office in the day, and then back in the UK, you work 2 jobs, and I'm still working late 1 a.m. And then my wife says she needs something. And I say, I've done everything. You've been all wrong point. And then she will show me, I can also dust my certificate, and I can also work in the office, and then the children are going to be at risk. So appreciate what that person is saying, validate what they're saying. Is there any way I can support you better? It will make a lot of difference. But the truth is that it will turn. It will turn. When we got to Australia, it turned. 6 weeks, my wife was already doing what she wanted to do. For 6 weeks, I was the one taking care of the kids.
That's a very short time, though.
6 weeks is short. Oh, but I can tell you at the moment as well, because of our profession, anything that has to do with school, anything that has to do with health, it's going to be me. I can really tell you how many times my wife takes the kids to the hospital or to see the GP. It's going to be me. Any appointment from school, the school calls them because of our nature of our work. She doesn't pick, but I pick. Even today, I still receive another phone call from school. It's in year 12. I still receive another call. With my wife, I already understand. She made her own sacrifice. It's my turn now. Does that make sense? It's my turn now. And then the other person appreciate that you understood the sacrifice they have made rather than being taken for granted. So we have to be very careful that the other party is not saying us, I'm making the sacrifice and you don't understand it. Validate it.
Thank you. Now, I'll go back a bit. You know, I know we're having this conversation some days ago about how do we ensure we don't even come into this problem? Are there ways people can be honest enough to say to themselves, this young man or this young lady might not be the one for me, and avoid the heartaches that come after they're together?
So we're talking about people that are not married now.
Talking about people that are married.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, people that are not married now, how do they avoid this after they're married? Because, to be honest, I believe every marriage will go through their own turbulence periods and things like that. And a significant portion of it, successful or not, will be dependent on those involved. And Tracy's science and they call red flags now. You say it's not red flags, it's now like banners now. They are bold enough for us to see now.
Yes.
And oftentimes we ignore many of those things, all in the name of, I love this guy, or blah, 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 blah. But how can we be honest enough to not go into a relationship that potentially would end in all of these issues we're talking about today?
It's a broad question. When you are not sincere, you are not secured. Sincerity, it's becoming a scarce commodity now, whereby people are in a relationship but they are not sincere. But whether you are sincere now or later, it's going to open. Whatsoever that is not said today, take for instance, one of the young single guys was telling me about a lady that, based on what she's done in the past, was never said during courtship, and then now in marriage, they find out it's bound to be destroyed. So your question is really, what can we do? Be sincere. Sincerity. Be sincere in your relationship. Be sincere in opening up. This is who I am. Don't forget I said again, you must be whole. This is who I am. This is what I'm working on. This is where I'm going. But today, people go with the butterflies, the feeling. Back when I was dating or courting my wife, we had a book. What are you working on this year? Which area are you working on to become a better version of yourself? Growing up, every December, my mom would give us our scorecard of how well you have done as an individual this year. And before we got married, I would give my wife that card. She said, "Oh, this is not true." I said, "No, that's my mom telling you who I am." And so there's that constant working on myself to become a better best version of myself. And with her as well. So be sincere. If you are not sincere today, honestly, it will show later and it become a bigger problem. Sincerity is very key.
I've got a question for you. 2 questions now, move out of this conversation, this particular topic. What questions, if I were to ask you, what are the 5 questions I should be asking my spouse to be before I get married? What those questions, what would they be?
Wow. 5 questions. Well, before I start asking questions, I want to find out, can two work together except they agree? So before I even ask questions, you're talking about questions, there are things I've already sorted in my head. Right. Number 1, our values.
Okay.
Our values. The first time I was in the Sunday school and they were talking about divorce, and I hear single people talk about divorce, I was shocked because that's one aspect we never discussed. And I was shocked when people were talking about it. So, values. What's your value? Do you believe in marriage is for life? Do you believe anything can break the marriage? What's your value? How do you see money? You know,
Mhm.
it's marriage between you and I only. What's your understanding of our in-laws? Are they just my family or your family? How do we see them? How do you see my brothers? How do I see yours? Where are you really going as an individual? What do you want to really achieve out of life? How can I help you? How can you help me achieve that? And then, what's eternity in view for you? Before my dad passed away, he said, almost like, I am fulfilled. He felt fulfilled with life. What will make you feel fulfilled in life? What is that one thing? So a lot of people, when they're in courtship today, is just going out, eating together, and they don't talk about those things that really matter. Values, where you're going, family, what your view about family. And from that discussion, you can tell whether you are really meant for each other or not. You know? Do I believe God has the final say? So, take for instance, if I'm doing something wrong, my wife knows that I can't pray because he knows my prayer is going nowhere. So it has to be resolved. Or when I hear God's word, it will break my heart. That's our value. But someone else will hear it, doesn't matter to them.
How important is... I'll come back to that question.
Yeah.
You mentioned courtship. To realize I haven't heard that word in a while. All I heard is dating.
Yes.
What is the difference between dating and courtship? Is there anything as such anyway, dating,
Well,
before marriage?
the way this generation define things is different from the way I know it. Courtship is a period where what I know before is simply I have someone I have in mind that this is where we're going to get married. So it's exclusive, or what they call today is it's exclusive between the two of us. We know it's exclusive. And I asked, what's the meaning of exclusive? Oh, she knows I'm into her. She knows we are together. We are not considering someone else. So it's a process of, it's when we're laying the foundation for our marriage. Courtship is simply laying the foundation for our marriage. I know there's a person I'm looking to get married to, and we're planning for the future together.
So is it this period you start asking all of these questions you just listed?
Those times, even when we're friends, I already started asking questions. But the time of courtship is when we're working on becoming a better person, what you want to achieve, how I can help you achieve it, what your value of money, family, and all that. What are the experiences that have formed you? Like, I know, I'm on air, I know I can never do business with a family member. My wife made it known to me during courtship. Not now. Then my younger brother will say, oh, let's do business. I already know. And it was from an experience she had from my family. And so, because I know that affected her badly, there is no way I can support any of my siblings. I can do anything for them, but I cannot do business with them. Because it affected her in her own growing up. And she explained that to me. And so she asked me, will you do business with family? Because it was a no-no for her. And I agreed in courtship. Do you understand? So it's not that now in marriage, I now constantly say that, oh, do you know what I want to do? She won't agree with it. It's going to be a problem.
Isn't that a trauma response?
Beautiful. That's one of the things I found out in life. Do you know all of us as one thing or the other that has hurt us in time past that we never discuss with our spouse? And so she was vulnerable enough to tell me when she was growing up. Right? And now it affected her. And she believed, wow, trust is a big issue. Right? And then the moment your siblings marry someone else, they're not the same sibling that you know as you used to know them. Because there's another influence from somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I understand my younger ones. I have 3 younger brothers, right? But they are no longer the way I know them because now they are married to someone else. That's a big change in perspective. My brother could say something, but the wife could say something else. And they are one, so I don't want to get involved. So several times my younger brother said, "Oh, I found land here. Can we?" I said, "Oh, I can support you, but I'm not buying it there." But that's the reason why. We've discussed it during the time we're cutting, and gives us peace of mind today.
That's okay. Do you believe in divorce?
It happens, but it's not in our own dictionary.
Do you believe in divorce, Pastor Kolapo?
I know it happens, but it's not in our own dictionary.
What is your view on divorce?
I never judge people because I'm not in their shoes.
Mm.
I've seen good people. I mean, good people. People that you see that you say, this is good, but somehow end up with someone and really you can't encourage them to stay. You can at times, with the eye of even faith, see, it's if God doesn't get involved in this, you yourself, it's a no-no. I don't believe, for me, it's not in our dictionary. But in the world we live today, because it's a broken world. Like you said earlier on about trauma of people. There's emotional abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse, so many things. A woman was pregnant and the husband pushed her down the staircase. What will you say? Then I hold the view of it's not in my dictionary for that person. Their situation is different.
So if I hear you very well, whilst according to your faith, divorce is not
In my dictionary.
in your dictionary.
Yes.
But because of the world we live in,
it's
situations can warrant a divorce.
100%.
What are such situations?
Again, what I can tolerate, what you can tolerate, I may not be able to tolerate it. You get what I mean? It's important before you get married, ask the other person, what can break you? But it's a vulnerable question. There are levels of communication. There is surface level you can discuss. But the highest level of communication is when you are vulnerable to the other person. What can I do? And you know the truth is that people know it. When they're single, when they're in marriage, people know it. Some other people cannot just, when trust is broken in some marriages, say, it takes me time to build trust. And then when you break that trust, it can be financial. It can be emotional for someone else. Know what it is that threshold for that person. Because every one of us as believers as well, we have, when we're work in progress, we're not there fully. Don't be very, very careful not to take the other person for granted. So in your question, I'm very, very careful not to push the other person out of, you get what I mean? As a Christian, I can say my wife is taking me for granted because she knows this is my value, and then she's not taking me for granted. You see, that changes the dynamics. So we don't take each other for granted. That's what I'm saying. So don't take your spouse for granted because you believe you think they can't do this. Situation can make people to change. So please don't take someone else for granted.
What, in your view, what's the impact of divorce on these individuals? And are there, just a follow-up question, are there alternatives that do not involve, that do not necessarily mean divorce, or that you can explore before we head to divorce?
The greatest pain I've learned in divorce, around that people have seen around, is the impact on themselves and the children. A situation happened once where, I mean, You go all out as a shepherd to help people. And then suddenly one day, it was someone's birthday and I forgot. And the person left the church. I was like, just because I forgot to call you on your birthday, and I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I've done for this person. That's one instance. There's another one. And there's another one. And then I was really hot because I was like, I have done so much than just little small thing of forgetting your birthday. I forgot this one as a human being, and you can't let go. And then while in my moment of prayers, it came to me. There is something divorce do to people. There's called the spirit of unforgiveness. Subtle, but it's there. Experiential. Subtle, but it's deep down. The person you love best, you say we're going to do life together. You're naked, not ashamed to that person. Suddenly, we're going our separate ways. There's something that does to people. There's that little thing you do, find it so difficult to forgive. If someone says it doesn't affect me, sir, I check it deep down. It's there. And the impact on the children is even worse. The impact on the children is that, one, they have never seen crisis management, conflict resolution. And so, before you know it, they can not, even at work, the only way out for them is let everybody go their separate way. Because it's in the family formation. Don't forget I said marriage has a purpose. No. It's in the family you learn forgiveness. You learn how to let things go. You and your siblings had a lot of issues, right? Growing up. And before you know it, what happens again? You mend. But then suddenly you see that among that are meant to be that standard. I'm not judging. I'm just saying this is what I've seen over years of pastoring, the effect on the children. Unforgiving. Some of them don't know how to say sorry. Because they say the person that is always saying sorry is the weak person. But in actual fact, saying sorry is a sign that you're strong. The impact on the children is terrible. Just to wrap up, recently I was in another state preaching, and it was on marriage, on relationship. And virtually all the young ones says, why marry? They don't need marriage. And I'm wondering, what has these young ones, 18, 19, seen about life from parents, from people around them that now says, it's not for me? What did they see? Did they see love? Did they see forgiveness? Or did they see bitterness? Strife, contention continually, and they realize, no, if this is what is defined as marriage, it's not for me.
What's the role of pop culture? You'll understand many of these young ones we've just talked about. Sometimes your parents would have done everything they need to do, they should do. Yet, as they grow up, the kids, they form their own opinion about life based on what they see online, on social media, and stuff like that. How do we marry these two? The parents is trying to do their best. However, there's this guy called social media that's become a go-to for information, gathering and everything, and then oftentimes become it has variance to what the parents is saying at home. What impact is pop culture on this? Because online, that opinion is very strong. Why should I get married? If I don't like him, I move on. Why should I stay with you for 10 years? What?
Whether we like it or not, our family forms a lot about our values. Whether we like it or not. You are a major product of your family. Take it or not. Leave it. You are if you are coming from a home where you have enjoyed love, right? You're going to be, all around you is going to be love. If you grew up in a home where there's always contention and fight, I tell you, people may look at you on the outside that you are quiet, just a little thing. They will know you are more than the Euroclindon when it comes to a strong wild wind. Family is the bedrock of everything. Eh, The society can challenge it, but there's something that you have seen over the years as you grow up. You realize that there's stability in the home. There is peace. Home is the peace, is where my dad find peace. My dad and mom always laugh together. They always smile together. Oh yeah, they disagree, but they mend up. And so to you, unconsciously, it's an unconscious thing. The society is saying something differently, but what you have grown up to see over the years is also saying, is very loud to you. It's an example. It's entrenched in you. Louder than what the society is saying. However, if the society is saying, oh, different thing, and what your own is saying is opposite, you will always go with what is exactly being modeled for you. So all I'm just going to say is that everyone that's in marriage, be very, very careful. The children are learning it consciously, unconsciously from you. And it's louder than what the community is saying.
Separation.
Hmm.
Can that, what's the word now? Can marriage be healed after separation? Have you seen an instance where two people having issues, big issues, when they're separate ways, not divorced, but just went apart to, I guess, work on themselves individually and come back? Is that a pathway that can resolve the issue?
What is the purpose of separation? What is the purpose? It's for just to have, it's a time to reflect. How did I get here? How did it happen? Why did it go that bad? Is it good? If 4 people kill themselves or commit murder, or die in silence, it'd be good. It'd be a good, very good approach, whereby you have a self-reflection. There was someone I was talking to recently. He told me, since we've been separated for 3 years, I have been a better person. But has the other person improved? No. The same way I left this person is the same way that person is. And I have moved on. And so I don't see the reason to continue in the union. Very, very fact. The fact is there. So why do I want to go back into this union when I have moved on, I have improved in myself, in my career, and this person, the reason why we actually got to this divorce is because this person was all pushing on life. Statistics. And I found it so difficult to actually encourage this person to go back into the marriage. Does it make sense? The time of separation should be a time of personal reflection. What did I do wrong? How can I get it right? Time of apologizing genuinely and making commitment to do life differently. But if that is not being achieved, someone is violent, someone has got temper issue. For a small thing, I always lose it. What are you doing in that period? Have you gone for counseling? Have you, if you are faced with Tyson, will you fight? It's because you think the other person is weak. Go for training, go for counseling, go for therapy. So separation has its own place. If individuals are learning in that period, it will work. But if you are still the same person, the other person may not see value in you.
What's the role of migration on marital issues, divorce, and all of this stuff?
It's good that you asked that question. I actually asked that same question today from a guy that I was in his shop earlier on. Migration has cultural shock. We have a different culture. And then we come into this Western culture that is different from our culture. There are things that we can learn from the culture, and there are things we cannot learn from the culture. Right? We live in the Western world where the woman is always right. The law is going to support the women. Right? And so if someone that's already been abused back home gets into this environment, I know my right. Right? And the guy, culture as well. Okay, the man is always the masculine and the head of the house and all these things. You can learn in this environment as well. Balance. I can help at home. Not necessarily the head should also helping out and everything. Also, no, African men, we don't do this, we don't do this. We can learn that from this culture. You see the Westerners, you see the Caucasians, they do this at home. They do it. Some do, not everybody. There are things you can learn from this culture that can help your marriage. And there are things that are also bad in the culture that we should not imbibe. So your question is, how does it affect? There are the good things you can learn from it, and there are the bad things. If you focus on the good thing, it will help you. And if you focus on the bad thing, it will scatter the marriage.
We've seen in many cultures, in many migrants try to move over here. We've talked about role reversals, gender roles, and all of other stuff. Many people believe that to be an issue among couples when they come over. I'll give a typical example, of course, taking on domestic chores and all of all this stuff. And people do attribute that to the cause of marital breakdown. I personally do not think so. I believe there are a whole lot more there is to it than you didn't wash plates today, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. But I'm sure you probably will have other ideas around that. But personally, I do not think role reversals cause or bring about marital breakdown. Because underlying factor for me could be communication. How has that been communicated? Example, my wife sometimes will say, "Let me do this." And then she wants it done at a particular time. And then like, "Yeah, I've heard you, I want to do this. But it doesn't have to be now." And that could be timed, "Oh, you're not listening, you're not hearing, you're not listening to me." Whereas you're saying, "Look, I've heard you, but it doesn't have to be now." And the other person could say you're not taking out other stuff. But anyway, I'll let you respond to that.
Like I said, whether you like it or not, our family upbringing has a lot to do with the way we see family. Our family upbringing has a lot to do with the way we see chores. A woman that has always seen that dad has always take advantage of a mom, dad never do what mom likes, could ask you to do something. It is not the something that you're asking, it's the underlying issue that you mentioned. It's an underlying issue. Not understanding that or not having that communication that, you know what? I'll give you an instance. My kids are grown up now. So one day we went to, you can buy meat from Canning Market, give them a call to say, "Hey, can you cut this stock here for me into 2 or 3?" And so one day I made the phone call. It was almost late, so they could not cut it. And then she brought it home and said, "Okay, cool. You always say I didn't ask you what to do for me. Come downstairs and cut the meat." And I said, "Okay, interesting. Faithful. Come here. Cut this thing into 3 parts." And Mom said, "No, it is you that I want you to cut it. I want to derive the pleasure of cutting it." And I told her, "Listen, if it's about cutting it, my kids are grown up now to cut it." But she's told me, "I just want to derive the pleasure of seeing me cutting it." So you see, it's not about the task. It's about you two can do it because I used to do it. And I said, "Okay, if that is the..." And so she would take that against me because that day I didn't cut it. I must be sincere. I didn't cut it. Faithful did the cutting. I was like, "You know what? When I ask you to do it, you don't do it. And then you tell me when I told you, you do it. And I said, "Calm down. It's about cutting the meat." And then she told me, it's not about the cutting itself. It's about me deriving pleasure in seeing you cutting it. I was like, I could be doing something. I said, but when you want me to do something, you want me to do it. You see how she flipped it? You derive pleasure in me doing that. But when it's me, I cannot derive pleasure. And I take, for instance, sweeping the floor. Say, okay. I said, "Don't worry. I'm going to contract it out. Someone is doing it." Say, "But why can't you do it?" I said, "Kenny, the issue is for the floor to be clean. But I now know there are sentimental things where she just wants to derive pleasure in me doing it. So, okay, no worries. You get it done." But like you mentioned earlier on, should it be the chores? There was one incident of a couple that broke up, and she said, "I'm breaking up. I asked him to change the bulb. The fridge bulb, to move it outside. I'm tired of it." I said, "Bob, change the fridge." And she said that was the business of the breakdown. I was like, "What? I've never even changed bulb in my house. My wife does it." There are other things I do. Doesn't make sense.
Mm.
So changing bulb, my wife do that. Other things we think women would do, I will do it. But why will moving free from this location because of, and then changing bulb be your reason? There are underlying issue like you mentioned. She just used that as an excuse for her divorce. But husband and wife should communicate. Hear why that person wants you to do that chores. Maybe you take it for granted. Changing diapers is what's the big deal in it? You must feel it.
What should we be understanding as migrants, as African migrants coming into Australia? What should we understand about the system? Case in point is, we've seen many young men come in the system, not understanding the system, not understanding how favorable the system is to women, and quote unquote unfavorable to men. Like they said before, the lady only to say you've done it. And that's enough.
That's it.
You won. You have to go defend yourself behind bars. And then prove your innocence. And even if it's proven, you've got a record already, you're already done. What should we be understanding? What are the things we need to understand as migrants, male migrants, coming into a place like Australia or in the West?
Relocation comes with its challenge. And because of that challenge, have regular conversation. There are some things you think based on years of marriage, you think you've mastered. Relocation will challenge it. And when that happens, have conversation around it. Genuine conversation. Be sincere about it. You know, I've emphasized a lot about sincerity. Genuine conversation. The issue is the problem. I am not the problem. You are not the problem. That the finance is not enough is the issue. I am not the problem. What are we going to do to ensure finance is resolved? Children are taken care of. We're able to meet these needs. What can we do? Give you an instance. Years back, when my wife want to make meat pie, right? You may have oven at home, they may not be light. And then there's other conventional way where we bake the meat pie. Now we're not living in Western world. She cooked that meat pie with everything. It didn't taste good. It was the challenges I was going through. And she was so not happy with me because I didn't enjoy it. But I have to say, no, it's not the meat pie that's the problem. It's the challenges I'm going through. All right? And then what is it? And we're able to discuss it. So meat pie that she cooked with love could have caused problem for us. But it was not the meat pie that was the problem. It was a lot of things that was there that is piling up. And I told her, I said, this is it. It's the meat pie is not the problem. Because, I like it. But suddenly she made all the time and I did not. And she could tell. I said, no, I'm going through a lot at the moment. Communication is very, very important. So when you come into a country like this, regularly have time to discuss. What happened at work today? How did that affect you? You come here, they said they didn't understand your accent. Did I tell you once? My wife being a nurse, taking care of a patient. And she said, where did you learn nursing? From the zoo? I said, God, can you imagine? I said, you will have answered, yes. For monkeys and dogs like you. And then she burst into laughter. Said, oh, next time. And I know. So it's an insult said to her because of the change in environment. And it could have affected her for the next day. But when she discussed it with me, I turned it to a joke. And she didn't know how to handle it. So when they say that's not an issue, my wife has taught me as well. When something happens, don't say it's not an issue. Don't say it's not. If it's an issue for her, you better take it as an issue. You better take time to spend 1 hour to listen to that person carefully. And at times, my wife says, I'm only speaking to you for you to simply listen.
Don't advise.
And not give me advice. And that's difficult for me, man. And so now, I've now trained my brain. When she's just simply want to talk, she'll tell me, I want you to simply listen. Don't give me advice. Oh, fine. And now I sit down, relax, have something to do. And and she will check in whether I'm really listening. And I will throw in my joke in it, and she knows I'm listening. And that's all she wants. But naturally, as men, we want to provide solution. Going back to the question, in this environment, as you see things happen, don't allow it to pile up. Have positive, healthy, straightforward conversation. Heart-to-heart conversation. It will help a lot
Okay.
than just ignoring it.
Now, the other bit of that question would be, living here as well, there are things we should know about the system that many of us are very ignorant about.
Yes.
I give you an example about, how a man can be framed up without you even knowing it. All the lady needs to do is say you did it, and that's all. How do men, in this instance, protect themselves from such? Now, for a lady that wants to divorce, that the man doesn't want to give up for whatever reason, wants to claim whatever it is they want to claim, and frame this person up, the man up, what should the man be doing, or what should he understand? I'll take it back. I'm hoping, Samson, you can work something there. You cut this bit out. Now, my question essentially is, migrants coming in here, seemingly everything is fine, but they're unaware that they're coming into a new system. Apart from the migration, the culture, there's a legal framework that's been built, not for them, never for them in mind. But then you come into the system and you have to abide by those. What should we be looking out for to understand the system we live in now, to protect us, first as a family, but of course, once again, as men, not to fall victim of the system? And that should be legal, but I hope you understand the question.
Maybe, I don't know whether I can reframe your question,
Okay.
because there are things that were done in the system. Because if you backtrack it, it was based on when the men went to war, and a lot of men lost their lives, and then they started changing the rules to favor the women. If you know the story behind it, that's how things started changing. Women started getting this, and then a lot of abuse happened to women as well. Rather, you talk about the system. When we come here as migrants, do understand that smacking a child can be a problem. You can give back to the child, not understanding that a mark on a kid can make you to lose your registration. A kid reporting you in school can make you to have a dent on your police report that could affect your status. And what we see as nothing back home can become a big issue here. Oh, back as Africans, did you get spanked? Growing up, did you get spanked?
Yeah, of course.
The rule here, can we spank?
Not likely.
But Africans, do we? What
Session.
do you have discussion with your kids? Let me tell you what I tell my kids. I tell them, listen, I will show them videos. See, a child left untrained becomes this in the community. And I will show them videos. I'll show them videos. The reason for discipline, when discipline declines, destiny decays. And I will show them the reason for discipline. And each child, I already understand what they need. Some is what? Some is refraining from, gadgets. The environment doesn't allow smacking that has a mark. If you don't know that, you could lose your children. That's the system you're talking about. One. Then, but the question you're talking about, when the system is now against the marriage values, why will my wife call police on me? Do you understand what I'm saying? Why will my wife call police on me?
She's tired.
Of what?
You.
It's not possible.
Well, I'm not saying you, but we're talking about the man in here.
I get you. That's what I'm saying. Why will my wife be tired of me? Look inward. Most of the time, we always think everyone will talk good of himself. Do a self-assessment of yourself. Do a self-assessment. When the best person that will score you is your spouse. What does a man said something? When people criticize me, I check myself. If I am wrong, I make adjustment. If I am right, I smile and I move on. But most of the time, what your wife tells you in assessment, is she wrong? I'm just asking, is she wrong?
No.
Do you take it or you leave it? When that builds up, do you think it doesn't build frustration? So, yes, the rule is there. It could be against the men, but at times when the women are speaking, are the men listening? Take for instance, wash the dishes. What's the big deal? I'm a title chief. I cannot. So because I'm a title chief, I can't take care of my family. Why can't we see it as one of those things that I can do to take care of my family? Ego, pride, begin to become okay. And she's just, oh wow. But she just saw it in another person's house that the husband is domesticated and you are not domesticated. All you believe as the man to do is just to provide finance. No, sir. It could be more than that. Don't forget again, I said, whether you like it or not, your upbringing. I've seen my dad cook. Cooking is not a problem for me because it modeled it for me. Do you understand? My father was not a man of faith. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that is something I learned. However, when that is not modeled from home, why can't we then model it for our children, our boys? So some of those things that the women complain about, before it becomes something that they will take advantage of the system, why can't we just listen? If you love someone, is love not about sacrifice? I understand there are people that really they are selfish, self-centered when they are going to marry and they know what they want to achieve. They don't contribute to the family. They just want to ruin the family. They just want to take advantage of it, right? It's going to be, like I said, it's not a red flag, going to see it. But there are other people that it's because they've been saying the same thing over and over and over, and there are no changes and they're frustrated. Then before you know it, love dies. And they begin to explore, I am better off without you. And I agree with you. There are people that are wicked, they are mean, they know what they want to do. But again, I will give you one last instance as we run up on this. Back when we're living in the UK, we talk about family matters. We talk about what the role of the man is, what the man should do, how to treat your wife. Guys were not listening. We'll finish from church and then the guys beat their wife. Then we brought in legal matters. We brought in lawyers to church and started educating people about what this environment is all about. The domestic violence reduced. Because at times, what they will not hear from the priest, when they hear it from the lawyer, it makes particularly family lawyers, that small thing you do like this can hand you into trouble. So maybe the environment, maybe the society should do more education for the guys as well. Maybe the churches should do more education for the guys as well. Maybe guys hanging out as well, right? Talking together, you know.
Can help.
I know that will definitely help.
Awesome. Well, rounding up, I've just got a few questions and I'll wrap up this conversation. What's your view on the interesting one, premarital sex? I'll put it this way. Does abstinence prepare couples for marriage, or does it create unrealistic expectations?
The question again is, what's my view on premarital sex?
Yeah.
And then does what?
Abstinence prepare you for or build unrealistic expectation?
My views again would be from my source and definition of marriage. I can't go outside my scope of what's my values, what is my foundation. And I was lucky enough. It was when I was in secondary school, I became a believer. So it formed a lot of things for me. So it's difficult for me to talk outside of what's my value. But talking to the singles today, right? And they give me so many scenarios. So many scenarios. One was telling me, Pastor, what if is not able to perform in bed? Or she's not fertile. She's not able to. What if? You talk about premarital sex, and they all talk about cohabiting. What about cohabiting? My view is still the same. Marriage is honorable when the bed is undefiled.
What if the man is infertile?
Good question. Do you remember what we talked about originally?
No.
When you are not sincere, you are not secured. Be sincere. Be sincere.
It takes two people to be sincere. What if one is honestly sincere and the other isn't?
Very good question. Because are you saying that if I'm always sincere, it will work for me? Is the other party also sincere? They were both naked, but they were not ashamed. It takes two to say our values that we're going to be sincere. But the truth is that, you know what, when someone tells you something sincerely, you will know. When someone is superficial, you will know. You will know. Oh, but Pastor, it is always sweet talking. Okay, every human being has their faults. There are places that they need to become a better person. Where is that person working on it? Or is always sugarcoating things? Sincerity is it's key. So the fact that people lie and deceive into it doesn't change the concept of it. And the idea is this. Okay, cool. We can't stay without each other. What if you travel you have to go for 3 months without seeing your wife? Does it mean because of that you're going to... What it does is simply to build this trust in the mind of the person that if you can honor me, if you can respect me without when we are courting, I believe you have a bit of self-discipline before we get married. When I can trust you. But if not, easy. I will tell you not easy. I will tell you it's not easy. Boundaries is very, very important. Without it, you will run this.
Thank you, Pastor K. I think this is a good place for us to wrap it up. I have one last question. I know you did mention this in this conversation. I'll ask you directly again. What is the purpose of marriage? It's part of the pain and the struggle.
Companionship, achieving the purpose that it helps you to be able to achieve the goals, the purpose that you set from day one when you are courting to achieve.
So if I don't have that as my primary objective, I shouldn't go into marriage.
Honestly, when the purpose of a thing is not known, you are going to abuse it. Of what use is a bazooka or a submachine gun in the hand of a kid? You're going to kill somebody.
Thanks so much, Pastor Kolapo. Such a good way to end this conversation.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you, Pastor K.
No worries.
I've got two last section. I did mention to you going to nominate someone, but also I'll ask you if you have any questions for me. We're still recording, yeah?
Nominating.
Start with a question and then we'll nominate.
Living in Australia for over 10 years. Relating with youth. I know there was one time you were the Nigeria youth team. What have you seen? How have you seen that? Do you see that genuine people of faith falls into the same trap as people that doesn't have faith when it gets to relationship and marriage?
To be honest with you, I see a lot of camouflaging.
Sincerity.
Yeah, a lot of camouflaging. Amongst even people of faith. And then you see people that you would assume, yeah, these ones should know the right things. Of course, you hear nobody's watching, your dad is there, your mom is there, you probably not belong to local assembly. That's freedom. When you have freedom, when you have money, life is good, isn't it? So, honestly, it's camouflaging. A lot of those standards are not being upheld. I don't know if I answered your question.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah, it did. It's a lot. It's a lot to add. I also understand the pressure as well. Of course, I was a young man. I was single at some point. The pressures, they were real. And if you're very honest to yourself, you say, look, I'm going through a lot. I remember saying to my dad, I wanted to get married at the time. It's like, come on, you just got to finish your studies. Of course, I understand. He didn't understand what I was going through at the point where you turned left. There were all sort of pressures around you. And the only way you could ask yourself, okay, I just need to find somebody that, okay, this will be my own person. And then that becomes good.
Question is, marriage doesn't solve lust.
It doesn't,
It can only reduce your temptation.
It doesn't. It just helps you channel this. In my opinion,
Yes.
it just channels it through one direction now. And
Yes.
so I'm not having to turn.
Right, left, and everywhere.
Yeah, you just know, okay,
It's better for a man to get married than for him to born.
Thank
I agree
you.
with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guest nomination. Now, who would you like to be on that seat?
In Perth.
In Perth for now. Whose story you want to hear? Who do you think this guy has got a lot to say on a particular subject?
Daddy Efeso.
Oh, okay. Why do you?
They've got life experience. And if you want to learn from people that have got life experience, and you can see it working in their life. Not only have they lived in Africa, they've lived in Nigeria, they've lived in Namibia, they've lived in what other country? They've lived in Australia. They have grandchildren here. They have children here. They have children that have lived in different countries. I think two of them living at US at the time. They came to Australia. Both of them are married. They've seen it. And so at my own stage, when I'm almost at empty nest, I learn a lot from what they're doing. You know, you train kids in one way, and then you see something. So you will learn a lot from them. So Daddy Oshinaiki is another elder statesman. These people are loaded with experience. You know, so take the Christianity part is one, family life is another. They've seen it. And so what you think is a big problem is what they have gone through. You learn from their own wisdom, and you see that what you are going through is no issue. And I've gone to Daddy's house. I see Daddy cleaning, Daddy washing. And so what are you? Like you say, you are now so proud that you can cook, you can clean. It humbles you. So, and I know they have a lot of family. They are well-to-do in their profession. They have the grandkids. They've migrated. They've seen the effect on people. You know, and they've also upheld their values in a community where people lower the standard. They're still holding forth. I know that.
Thank you so much, Pastor K, for joining me on the podcast. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And I hope you went on the hot seats for the same wasn't it was rather.
Nah.